I didn't expect this to blow up, and I wanted it to be, first and foremost, a place for healthy discussion. I know the post on the other subreddit was removed, but to be fair, they gave the explanation that today was a theme day on that subreddit that I didn't know about, and that theme was women only. They offered to review the submission on another day. Again, my intent was not to further create any sense of injustice just because one was taken down. Things happen. To all who commented and gave their contribution, a big thank you. Some comments here were amazing and insightful. Story 1. Solving parental leave. It should be paid and equal for both parents. Having this disparity creates the expectation that women who want to have children should temporarily leave their job, while men don't, leaving the care of the infant to her and causing employers to prefer hiring men since they won't have this leave of absence. Additionally, after pregnancy, health concerns, both mental and physical, are very serious, so women should have support from the father. Story 2. Baby changing tables in men's restrooms would be a start. Normalize men caring for their children. Edit. Wow, I did not expect this to gain so much attention. For everyone commenting that changing tables in men's rooms are a thing. Good. Great. That means change is being made and progress is happening. Let's keep it up until it's universal. For the few saying this isn't a women's issue, I wholeheartedly disagree. Not having facilities available that allow men to take care of their kids means that, by default, a lot of the childcare ends up falling back on the woman, which does make it a women's issue. Story 3. Solving proper diagnosis of chronic conditions that are specific to women and facilitating disability pay or equivalent in severe cases. My girlfriend suffers from endometriosis. In short, reproductive tissue that is supposed to be contained within reproductive organs grows outside of them. They bleed as per cycle and the trapped blood causes pain. That is the simple version and does not come close to explaining the pain of severe cases. My girlfriend is attached to a hot water bottle. There are burn marks all over her stomach as a result. She struggles to do anything on the worst days, let alone work. And because it is an issue specific to women, it gets almost zero attention. Women bring life into this world, and they suffer enough through that process as it is. But for some, they suffer their entire lives more and simply get told to pull it together. Women experience all sorts of pains through no fault of their own, and I think as a society, in terms of employment and general health care, more needs to be done for those suffering. Story 4. Actually parent your child. I've seen so many families where the mother does literally everything and the father does absolutely nothing. It's exhausting to handle a full-time job and a second full-time job at home at the same time. Also, your children will be grateful for it. Children with a dad who is invested in parenting are much more emotionally stable when they grow up. Story 5. Teach proper women's anatomy at a young age so people are not confused and dismissive of things a woman goes through with her body. Also, make tampons free, have dispensers in schools and medical offices, and if they want to buy in bulk, make it cheaper and remove the tax. Story 6. Support other men in your life emotionally. You have the power to change what it means to be a man with those close to you, and being unemotional does not have to be part of it. It will help you all and us women a lot, to be honest. Story 7. For my wife, particularly, and maybe other wives, I'm not sure, it was getting a vasectomy. My wife never did well with any sort of birth control, and oh, did we have fun after I got snipped. I will say I'm all for those who are child-free or choose to adopt, etc. It's your personal choice, but for me, I was happy to do it. I had 2 kids 20 years ago, and my wife and I had a serious discussion about this topic. Story 8. Other than what has already been said, teaching young boys emotional intelligence and how to deal with emotions and inner conflict is important. Almost all of the abuse is caused by men not knowing how to deal with themselves, which comes out as bullying and anger. I remember a time when I was a teenager when all of my negative emotions became anger. I could not cry or get sad because I thought that was weak, and to compensate, I became angry for no reason. Not knowing how to deal with your own emotions will eventually become anger and bullying because you feel the need to put someone down to feel that you are better, stronger, or in control in cases of emotional abuse. Story 9. Help your significant other out in the household if she also works full-time. You live there too. Edit. People pointed out to me that it is not about helping, as if it is the woman's responsibility alone. It is about doing your part. That subtle difference got lost in translation for this non-native speaker. Thanks for correcting me, it is appreciated. Story 10. In my opinion, I think we need a 32-hour work week. Women and men need to both be there for their families. We have this backward idea that men need to work over 50-hour weeks, and women are in charge of holding the family together. There is a huge social stigma against stay-at-home dads. All this makes it really hard for career-driven women or even couples who wish to contribute equally. Story 11. I've come across a lot of guys who think it's acceptable to speak about women as if they are literally walking body parts. They treat women as if they are there to bow to their every need and then get aggressive and verbally abusive when a woman calls them out on it or is offended by the way they speak. We have also invented the concept of the friend zone, which I think is completely ridiculous. Basically, it's been made up for when a woman wants friendship. Instead of accepting that the feelings aren't reciprocated and moving on, we then guilt them into feeling sorry for us. There are also still so many guys who see women as below them, and it completely baffles me as to how you reach that conclusion. We need to call out behavior that promotes sexism, even if it's within our friendship groups or our family. We also need to teach the next generation that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. Story 12. Hold your friends accountable when they say nasty, sexist, creepy things about women. So many guys don't seem to care about how poorly their friends treat women. Story 13. All women's issues are men's issues as well, and by solving one you can solve the other. Women still having fewer job opportunities is the same issue as men not being able to spend enough time with their children. Men being pressured not to feel certain emotions is the same issue as women having to deal with angry men who cannot handle feelings. Similarly, women still being seen as emotionally weaker also means men cannot show those emotions. Women still being judged when they decide to be childless, or motherhood still being seen as the greatest thing a woman could ever do, is the same issue as legal custody being unfairly favored to women. Men dealing with false rape accusations is the same issue as women being sexually assaulted. That it is much harder for men to get a date is the same issue as the large amount of unwanted, inappropriate pictures women receive. If you solve one, you solve the other. If more women get better jobs, men will automatically be able or have to spend more time with their children. Or the inverse. If more men stay at home to spend time with their children, women will automatically be able or have to get better jobs. Story 14. We need to hold other men accountable when it comes to how we treat women. Think about sexual harassment or assault in casual environments. It happens way too often, and way too often other men look away. Story 15. I know it's a small issue, but I've always hated the stereotype. A man sleeps with 100 women, he's a hero, but a woman sleeps with 5 guys, and she's a slut, and so is every one of the women the guy slept with. There's nothing wrong with consenting adults having as much sex with as many partners as they want. Just be safe and don't cheat on a partner, and it should be fine. I know it's a trivial thing to most people, but it's one of my biggest irritations. Story 16. I know you are asking men this, but if I could chime in here, there are so many women that think men think the same way they do, choose partners the same way they do, and are attracted to the same things they are. I wish men would give more dating advice to women because, for the most part, women advising women on what men want is seriously hurting women in the dating world. Story 17. I think the obvious solution is to learn what is socially inappropriate and not do those things. That's it. Don't try to justify your behavior by overthinking it. Accept the fact that there are women who just won't be interested in you, and there will be absolutely nothing you can do to change that. Take your rejection and move on. Women owe you nothing, no matter how nice you are. That's my contribution. I think a lot of men could address some of women's issues with a mindset shift. Story 18. Sexual harassment, such as catcalling, lewd texts or emails, repeatedly asking a woman out after she said no, and workplace sexual harassment, is an issue. I've personally never understood the appeal or why anyone thinks it's a good idea, but clearly, a lot of men don't think that way. Yes, women can and do sexually harass men as well, and it's even less likely they will face accountability, but I think a lot of them do it because they're lashing out in frustration over the issues they face. Story 19. Not insulting boys and men by calling them little girls or a variation would be a good start. If the worst insult you can think of is being a girl or a woman, there is something wrong with you. Story 20. Petition for sanitary products to be available in every restroom. Get rid of the pink tax. Petition for the expungement of the statutes of limitations on reporting sexual assault and rape everywhere in the United States. Treat sexual assault and rape as a felony in all 50 states. Establish equitable dress code standards that make men and boys responsible for their own attention. Stop the sexualization of preteen girls and teens. Make counseling available to miscarriage patients, stillbirth patients, and sudden infant death syndrome patients. Make the stigma of not wanting a child or family disappear. Stop legislating women's reproductive systems. Stop negating or downplaying girls' and women's pain in regards to healthcare. Stop regarding some non-existent future spouse's opinion regarding healthcare. Make clothing with usable pockets the standard, not the exception. Story 21. Don't teach boys that the only thing they should care about is sex. Don't assume that they're always thinking about sex because they aren't. Girls get sexualized before they know what sex is, but I was being taught by women and men both that I need to be sexualizing women before I knew what sex was. The way I was being sexualized and told to sexualize women when I never wanted to mess me up for years. It made me toxic and drew toxic women to me. We talk a lot about teaching boys consent, but if we also told boys that they don't have to constantly think about and want sex, then they won't be as angry and hostile when they don't get it. Sometimes I think that men angry about women rejecting them is often about men being trained to think that sex from women is the most important thing in their lives, the biggest thing they want, and they're just losers if they can't get it. Thank you, kind stranger, for the silver. I think it might be my first. Story 22. We could stop acting like they owe us something. We could stop acting like they aren't as smart or as strong or more organized or more capable of doing two things at once. We could stop staring, following, or touching them inappropriately. We could help with the chores, the babies, and the cooking. We could check in before we go out with friends or buy an Xbox or PlayStation 5. We could sit with them on the couch and watch their show without making negative comments. Just some advice from a 51-year-old happily married for 27 years. Story 23. Anything I post on Ask Women gets removed. I mean, what the heck? I asked a question I figured women could answer and it gets removed. Anyhow, to the point, I think we could help lower the pressure with some of the ridiculous standards imposed on them largely by media. I've been seeing someone for a few weeks now, and she apologizes every time after saying "excuse me" when she burps. I chuckle. She almost freaked out when she accidentally let one pass while we were walking and apologized. She mentioned wishing her breasts were bigger or her but isn't as big as she wishes, etc. I just smiled and kissed her. I don't care, and most of us actually don't. If we like you because of you. Yes, there's physical attraction depending on what someone prefers, but when it's a connection, it's so different from what's in movies. No, you don't need makeup to look beautiful. I already know what you look like. I see your face every time we're together. No, you don't need lipstick to appear sexy or more desirable. I already know what your lips look like. Believe it or not, they're attached to your face, which I've seen already. No, fancy outfits aren't necessary. What's comfy to you? Nothing is sexier than a woman in sweats, sneakers, and a sweater or t-shirt with her hair up. No, a super tiny flat tummy isn't the sexiest thing. A little bit of curvature never hurts anyone. Several people I've been with, despite being clearly in shape and skinny, obsess over a bit of a muffin top or a minuscule amount of belly. I get that it's dependent on self-image, but just know I don't care. Flip it over, and I think they're also getting better about doing this for us too. There's a reason dad bods are in, along with tiny fragile-looking men with neckbeards at times. It's because the super jack jock type isn't and likely never has been the preferred person for mature women. Eye candy and soul food aren't the same. Young fun isn't the standard. We age. By the time someone's 25 nowadays, they've had so many wild nights they want someone who looks like a peaceful, non-pretentious, non-threatening man who either knows his way around carpentry/mechanical items or a computer. I love this. We should really settle down on the overhyping of shallow memes. I'm getting ready to head over to her house now because she asked if I wanted to cuddle and watch King of the Hill. Before I could even respond, she said, "If you don't, that's okay. I know I can be boring. Dude, sweats, cuddles. King of the Hill? Yes. I don't expect you to be dolled up and for us to go eat a dumb fancy meal because you're pretty. Chill. We're just human beings bonding because we need someone." Story 24. Addressing pornography addiction with sex education. I was addicted to pornography and masturbation since the age of 7, and I am 20 now. I just recently stopped, and I am on day 149 of abstaining from pornography. In addition to removing the addiction from my life, it also revealed many flaws in society. It is normalized for boys to watch pornography, and it leads to the complete over-sexualization and objectification of women. We need to eliminate the complete and total encouragement of boys watching pornography, as it is toxic for both parties. Story 25. I have been reading some comments full of double standards on this very subject on several different subforums. That means both ways. We, as men, can't fix everyone else's problems. We can support and give advice, but as far as actively fixing anything socially or even at a personal level, people should take personal responsibility for their own actions and fix it for themselves. If people don't take responsibility on an individual level, society will suffer.